Every year, in addition to the big stars competing for the big awards, there's always one or two breakthrough performances that get nominated. Young actors on the verge of greatness. This year, it's Ryan Gosling, who's up for Best Actor and who's coming to grips with the seductive machinery of stardom. At 26, he'd be the youngest actor ever to win, and he's trying hard not to get caught up in all the glamour and hooping.
You said you got a lot of money on Forrest Whitaker, though, to win Best Actor.
Yeah, I do. He better not let me down tonight.
Gosling's crackhead teacher joins a list of dark characters he's played. A Jewish neo-Nazi teenage killer.
To have the luxury of being able to play so many different characters in different genres, it makes me better, and it helps me to learn more about what I'm doing.
Did you like this character? This teacher, drug-addicted teacher who a lot of people would say is corrupting the children in his class?
I loved him and I hated him. I felt about him like I feel about myself and my friends.
How did you prepare for this?
Smoked a lot of crack. But I was doing that anyway, so. I did a lot of movie drugs in that movie, and I don't know what they put in movie drugs, but it's powerful stuff.
Your mother and your sister were there, and that must have been a big thing for you.
Well, they were so excited. They actually got too excited, sort of acting almost like they could give up on their life. I mean, look, the great thing about awards, not that I have any experience with them up until this point, but it seems like they're not really for you anyway. They're for your mom. Awards are for your mom, and my mom deserves it, because I was a little jerk, and anyone will tell you that, and she knew it. She didn't care. She just kept doing the right thing by me every single time, She deserves to go to a fancy party and put on a fancy dress, have a bunch of fancy people tell her she did a good job. I traveled a lot when I was younger. Even as a kid, we never really had a house. We always lived in apartments, or, we were always moving.
Down in Canada, down in the U.S. Down in Canada, down in the U.S.
My mom was a baker. She would bake wedding cakes, sort of help make ends meet. That was a nice thing to grow up with, that smell always in the house. She took me out of school and homeschooled me for a year. With all the swearing and the not being able to read and write very well, I guess she figured that she couldn't do much worse. So part of her curriculum was weekly visits to the library to check out books I had no intention of reading. She had a solution for that too. The library had a collection of films. She made a deal with me. For every book I read, I could rent a movie. When I was a kid, I saw Rambo: First Blood, and then after the movie put a spell on me, and I thought I was Rambo. I even thought my face felt like Sylvester Stallone's. And then I put a bunch of steak knives in my Fisher-Price Houdini kit. I took it to school the next day and I threw them at all the kids at recess. And I got suspended and I didn't hit anybody. Right. So and I'm sorry. My parents were like, this guy can't watch movies, They have too much of an effect on him. So I could only watch Bible movies and National Geographic. Even at an early age, film had opened a door that led to a world where daydreaming didn't mean you were wasting time. It meant that you were doing your job. A job I could not wait to do. A job I started doing right away. If you count putting on hammer pants and dancing at the mall. Singing When a Man Loves a Woman at weddings to brides during the garter belt ceremony. It led me to my big next move, being the least talented kid in a group of Disney Channel prodigies on the Mickey Mouse Club.
Ryan Gosling is on top of the world. Well, at least the entertainment world. He's a Mouseketeer.
I was dancing in a little dance troupe in my hometown. All the girls were going to audition for the show, so I went too, and I don't know, somehow I ended up in a trailer park in Kissimmee, Florida, shooting the Mickey Mouse Club for 2 years. I went with my mom, and we moved into a trailer park called Yogi Bear Park.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to my room. I'm Bud Sawyer, and this is Room Improvement.
Working for Disney and on that show, it trains you to be professional. Everyone on that show, besides myself, was some kind of a child prodigy. But I also think that experience really kind of taught everybody kind of work ethic for something that helped going forward.
We picked out of a lot of talented kids and everything, Ryan. I want you to know that you're a Mouseketeer. And I went, no way. And my mom she hit the roof.
My biggest feeling was just that I was so happy for Ryan. I was happy that he got a yes answer.
To me, it's love, because there was kids there that were just phenomenal.
That's Justin Timberlake. He's a young upstart in the business. He's got a real future. Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears.
Wow.
And that's Ryan Reynolds.
Well, your mum was his legal guardian, wasn't she?
Yeah, we lived together. We were 11, so we were partners in crime.
His mother had to keep her job in Canada the second year that we were on the television show. We were probably a little closer than the rest of the kids that were on the show.
It's just so unlike everything, it's just so fun. That's the best word to describe it. You have such a good time and you're just working hard and you meet so many different people. It's great. I think the best thing to do is just be yourself, and just be out there and smile at everybody and don't try to be too cool, but don't try to be, too happy, just be yourself.
And then when they hired me, they realized that I couldn't really dance or sing.
I'll always perform if it's, singing on the street, or whatever, or if I'm on TV or in the movies or anywhere. I think I'll always perform.
Lots more TV work followed on shows like Flash Forward and Young Hercules.
Get a haircut.
I had a fake tan, leather pants, was fighting imaginary monsters. They weren't really there, but I was acting like they were there.
Every time something like this happens, my mother calls every kid that used to beat me up. She's like, remember Ryan used to beat him up, huh? Well, he's Hercules now, you just shut up.
In 2001, he starred in the independent film The Believer, about an Orthodox Jew who becomes a neo-Nazi. It won the Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival.
It was hard for me to get into any room before that, and after that it was, obviously it was easier, and so I really owe him for that. That's the best part about Los Angeles. Everyone's left their family, their homes, their friends, their jobs to pursue a dream where they know that the percentage of them achieving that dream is never, and they do it anyway. You're lucky to get an audition, then you get it, you get there, you walk into a room full of guys that look just like you realize you're not the only one that wore the cowboy hat. The director was like, I don't see a guy from the Mickey Mouse Club playing a Jewish Nazi. Hard to argue that. I really just felt strongly about it, and I talked my way into their lunch hour. That director was just crazy enough to believe in me, and he really, gift-wrapped me a career.
In 2002, he accepted the part of a murderous teenager in the Sandra Bullock thriller Murder by Numbers.
It's one of my first films, so definitely, yeah, and people are going to see it, so that's new for me too. I've done a couple of films which no one will see, so.
While the critics called it sappy, the audiences loved it, and it made Gosling a heartthrob to millions of young women.
I think it's an old-fashioned love story. He's an interesting character. He's a man that knows what he wants and won't settle for anything else. He's basically a romantic, and life's trying to beat the romance out of him every chance it gets. Nick sent me the script, and he said he thought that I should do it, and I read it, and I thought he was crazy, and I met with him. I said, Nicky, come on, this is not the face of a romantic lead. And he said, I know. That's why you got to do it. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, that way when she says that she loves you, we know that she's in it for the right reasons. He's like, Brad Pitt, anyone's going to fall in love with Brad Pitt. Who's going to fall in love with you? And I thought, yeah, that's mean, but you don't need to say that. I remember having a conversation with Sam Shepard. We loved making it, but I remember both of us being like, well, no one's going to see this one. I know that my mother's happier, because I finally made a nice movie.
Ryan Gosling, congratulations on being one of the youngest Best Actor nominees in history.
I just come off of making Half Nelson, which we made for at the end of the day, $700,000, and then we're making this big studio movie. After I did Fracture, I went and did a film where I played this guy who was in love with a sex doll.
This has been a busy year for you. 3 big movies. You got Crazy Stupid Love, Drive, Ides of March.
It's a little too much.
Think you're overexposed, everything?
I'm sick of myself. I was getting stressed out. The movies I was making, I had to go to a physical for the doctor, and he gave me a prescription, and I read it, and it said do a comedy. And so I did it, and I think that I do feel better. One of the first things that I got when I moved to Hollywood, I was 17, and I got a part in a pilot that Steve was in. We both had small parts. We didn't get to work together, but I was so enamored with him that I would go to set to watch him work. He was so funny that the boom operator threw down the boom. It just had this laughing fit in the corner. It was the first time I'd ever worked with someone that was so good it was a problem. There's no one like Steve. So I thought, well, I have to work with this guy one day. It was challenging to go into these bar situations and try and hit on girls. It's just embarrassing.
That's weird because I think that your friend Hannah is really sexy.
Oh my God.
And you're pretending like there's music and there's not, so you're kind of yelling at someone. Some nice person you've never met, you just walk up to them and start yelling pickup lines. You just feel like a knucklehead. I never wanted to work before. I was always, every time I made a movie, it just made me sick in my stomach. I just tried to do it as little as possible. But I've had a few really good experiences lately, so I'm feeling better about it. So I guess I feel like I'd like to work more.
You also shared some scenes with Emma. What was it like working with her? She's fantastic as well.
She's, there's just nobody like her. I just like her so much, and I hope we get to make a lot of movies together.
I just heard you play, and I wanted to...
We were all very honest with each other early on that this was not going to be a walk in the park, you know, that the only way that we could do this movie together was just if everyone rolled up their sleeves and fully committed. That's what's great about Ryan and Emma, is that they are, I mean, they're incredibly gifted performers, but they're also workaholics, you know, and they just went all out.
My experience in 90s hip-hop didn't really translate. It didn't help me in the way that I thought it would. For me, the kind of most fun part was learning how to play piano. You know, I had to spend like months and months playing the same little pieces, like glad that it was so beautiful because I never really got sick of it. As soon as it was over, it was gone. It's a lot of time alone, and you become quite antisocial. And every time I tried to have a conversation during that rehearsal period with anybody, I was a bit like Bambi on ice. While I was singing and dancing and playing piano and having one of the best experiences I've ever had on a film, my lady was raising our daughter, pregnant with our second, and trying to help her brother fight his battle with cancer. If she hadn't have taken all that on so that I could have this experience, it would surely be someone else up here other than me today. So, sweetheart, thank you. To my daughters, Amada and Esmeralda, I love you.
Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Ken.
Ryan was our dream choice for this role. Greta wrote his name into the script. It was Ken Ryan Gosling.
Henceforth be known as Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House.
We just couldn't see anyone else doing the role. And so, of course, when Greta and I tried to get Ryan to sign on, they're like, come do Barbie with us.
My first impression of Ken was the title page of the script, which said Barbie and Ken, and then and Ken was scratched out. And then the next was, this is the hardest part I'll ever play. Interest in Barbie and their disinterest in Ken that sort of started all of this. I walk out in the backyard. You know where I found Ken? Face down in the mud next to a squish lemon.
At one moment, I was like a human male in my backyard picking up a Ken doll, and then like somehow magically had become that doll, and I was being picked up now by Greta Gerwig. The only way to become human again was to just follow her very specific directions. At a certain point, I thought I had like left that kid behind, and I realized that I needed his help to make this movie.
If I wasn't severely injured, I would beat you off right now, Ken. I mean, how do you approach playing a 70-year-old crotchless doll? There's no research you can do for that. There's no one you can shadow. There's no documentaries you can watch. There's no books written about it. You're on your own.
No one ever had the thought, I wonder what Ken thinks. And if anyone did, they let it go very quickly because it seemed like a waste of time.
I'm just Ken. Anywhere else I'd be a 10.
You know, very little is known about Ken. We don't have the funding for the research. We know that it's real. In my case, it came on as a rash, and then it turned into a tan. And then suddenly you're shaving your legs and you're bleaching your hair, and it's you're wearing bespoke neon rollerblades.
Did you bring your rollerblades?
I literally go nowhere without them. I'm sure you're all aware of the Coco Chanel rule. Before you leave the house, you take one thing off. The Ken rule is you put 3 things on.
I just Kenned as hard as I could. When you Ken like lightning, you crash like thunder.
Behind every great Barbie, there's a Ken who's totally fine with that. They're Kenning all over the place. They're Kenning all over each other. They're Kenning everywhere. And they're Kenning so hard that they're gonna Ken themselves blind if they don't stop Kenning.